Hi, welcome to Pilates for Runners. This session is focusing on stretching. So I'm going to take you through some of the best stretches that I think you can do as a runner. They're based around the hips mainly because that's where runners tend to feel the most tension and tightness through their muscles. And keeping a good mobility through your hips is really going to help your running stride. So when you're ready, come round so that you're sitting on your bottom, prop your hands behind you, and then just walk your feet out so they're slightly wider than the hips. From there, we're just going to take the knees down one way and then the other. Try to keep your shoulders as still as possible so you're not lifting and twisting the body with the legs. See if you can start to push the knees down towards the floor a little bit more. So you're obviously getting an internal rotation in this back hip and an external rotation in that front hip. So making sure you've got good mobility through the hip joints is really going to help the muscles around the hips to stay a little bit less tight and tense. When you're ready, take them down one way. Then we're going to take that back leg as far behind as we can, 90-degree angle at the knee. Same with the front leg, a nice 90-degree angle. And then we're going to frame that front knee. So hands on either side of the knee, line your chest bone up with that knee. And then you're going to lift your tailbone up behind you. So lifting it up towards the ceiling, dropping the belly down, almost like a cow stretch. And then from there, keeping that cow stretch going, so the tailbone up, you're going to lower the chest towards the floor. So you increase that stretch around the hip on this front side. So we're stretching the back of the hip to start. Like I say, it should be all on this front leg, around the hip and glutes. Take some nice big breaths in through the nose, out through the mouth. So focusing on your breath while you're stretching can really help because it helps you to relax through the body. You relax around the muscles that you're trying to stretch, and it's much easier then to lengthen them back out again. Get a couple more breaths holding this stretch. Good, then coming up, we're going to do the same on the other side. So just lifting the knees up, straight down the other side. Make sure that back leg is all the way back. 90-degree angle at the knee, 90-degree angle at this front knee. Hands either side of the knee. Lift the tailbone up behind you, drop the belly down. And then if you can, slowly lower towards the floor, not necessarily all the way to it because you don't want to come down round the back here. You want to keep the tailbone up as you lower so that we keep that stretch in the front hip. And then nice big breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth. Nice wide breaths. Good, a little bit longer. Lift the tailbone up behind you. And then come back. Come round now onto all fours. And this is where you might want a cushion or a pad under your knee. We're going to take a big step forward with the right leg and then put the pad under the left knee. From there, make sure your hip bones are facing forwards and just take your right foot a little bit wider than your hip bone. From there, we want to stretch the front of the hip now, so we're going to tuck the tailbone under. So scoop the tailbone under, so you pull in your lower abs, squeeze your bottom, keep that tailbone tucked and just take the weight forward slightly until you feel the stretch down those left hip flexors. From there, we're going to sweep the arm up to the ceiling and reach tall. Now, if you're feeling a bit unbalanced, you can have something beside you to hold on to, like a wall or a chair or a sofa. But if you're fine without it, then carry on. But keep the tailbone tucking under. That's what's keeping the stretch in these hip flexors. Nice big breaths again. In through the nose, out through the mouth. And again, keeping the tailbone tucked, we're going to arch the upper back. Open out down the front a little bit more. So So really getting into those deep hip flexors now. Nice big breaths. Hold that stretch. Come up towards the ceiling again. And now we're going to lean over to the right. Keep the tailbone tucking under. Keep the hips pushing forwards. We're still stretching out those hip flexors. You should feel this from under the rib cage all the way down to the top of that left hip. Nice big breaths. Holding that there. Coming back slowly. And then we're going to take a stretch through these front hamstrings. So we're going to straighten the right leg as much as possible. We keep the hip bones facing forwards. We're going to pull the toes back towards you. And then we're going to do a gentle hinge forward. So keeping the back straight. Lift the tailbone up behind you now because we're stretching the back of the leg. And then come back. Hinge. And then back. If you're ready, you can add some arms. So you reach towards the foot and then up. Towards the foot and then up. The key with this is when you come forwards to lift the tailbone up behind you so that you deepen that hamstring stretch and then release. Couple more and then we're going to hold. Okay, this one we're going to come down and hold. So you can either rest on the thigh on that right side, or if you can touch the floor while still keeping your tailbone up, then you can. You don't want to be touching the floor if you just round your back. All right, if that's happening, then come up a little bit and extend the back again. Keep the tailbone lifting up behind you. Nice big breaths. Good, hold that stretch a little bit longer. Come slowly up. Put the foot down and then we're going to reach around and grab hold of that back foot. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to tuck the tailbone under again because we're going to go for the front of the hip into the quads now. So we've done the hip flexors. Now we're going to do the quads. So tuck the tailbone under, push the hips forward and then pull that foot towards your bottom. Again, you might want to pad the knee if it's uncomfortable on the floor. So because we're doing the front of the leg, really tuck the tailbone under as far as you can. Nice big breaths. Good, slowly release that foot. Come back, and we're going to do the same with the other side. So putting your right knee on your block or your cushion. Big step forward with the left leg. Hip bones face forwards. And then we just take that left foot out to the side a little bit more. So we've got a bit more space in the hip. And then from there, we're going to do the front of the hip again. So tuck the tailbone under. We're going to get into those right hip flexors here. So tip the weight forward ever so slightly, keeping the tailbone under. Nice big breaths. And then sweeping that right arm up to the ceiling. Reach up first. Again, you can hold on to something if you want to balance. Nice big breaths. Start to arch back. So keeping the tailbone under, arch the upper back. So we increase that stretch just a little bit more. Come up again with that arm, and then we're going to take it over the left leg. So it's a little side bend. Again, tuck the tailbone under when you get there. Make sure you're still pushing the hips forward. So we really open out those hip flexors at the front. Find the stretch and then focus on your breath. Nice big breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth. Good, slowly come back. Release off, straighten the left leg, still keep the hip bones facing forwards, because we're going to switch to the back of the leg now. We want to lift the tailbone the other way, so we want to lift it up behind us, coming down for that stretch, and then release. I'm just tucking the toes behind for a bit more balance. Remember, nice straight spine, lift the tailbone as you hinge. When you're ready, add in the arms, reach up, hinge towards those feet, and then back. Exhale down, inhale up. One more time, and then we're going to hold it. Good, come down, either rest on the thigh, or you can get to the floor, but just make sure the back stays straight and the tailbone stays up. Nice big breaths. So it doesn't matter if you're here, as long as you can feel that pull on the back of the hamstrings to stretch them. Use your breath to try and relax, particularly if it is feeling tight. Just try and relax on the out breath so the muscles aren't gripping, and you give them a chance to extend and stretch. Slowly release by coming up. Bring the foot in. We're going to reach around and grab hold of the foot on the back leg. We're going to the quads at the front now, so tuck the tailbone under again. And then squeeze the bottom, push the hips forward. And again, you should feel this down the front of the right leg. A little bit lower than the hip flexors, although you might get a little bit of a hip flexor stretch as well. But it's more into the quads, this one. Nice big breaths. Remember, tailbone under, squeeze the bottom. Again, if you need help with balance, then hold on to something with your left hand. Good, slowly release that foot. Come back. We can take out the blocks. So we've done thighs, front and back. We've done the outside of the hip. Now we're going to do a little bit into the glutes and the piriformis. So we're going to do a modification on a pigeon stretch. So pigeon is great for runners, but it's be quite extreme for some people to get into. So this is a little bit easier version of it. So we're going to be on all fours to start. Then you're going to slide your left knee front and into the center between your hands. Then you're going to lift up your right leg, take it all the way over to the left, and then slide it away, keeping your body facing down your mat. Then you can come down and rest on the floor. So stretching out into the left glutes and left piriformis, deep into the hip. Nice big breaths. And again, just trying to relax in this position. I think I mentioned to some of you that you can do this in front of the TV. You can do this reading your Kindle. Anything just to relax basically and hold this position. Stretch out the back of your hips. Nice big breaths. Good. To come back out of this one, you just tuck the toes on the right, walk that knee forwards, slide it round behind you, and then walk the other knee back. We're going to do the same on the right leg. So right knee comes front and center. Left leg lifts up, goes all the way over to the right, and then slide it away. Make sure you keep your body down the mat and then relax on the floor. You can stay up here, but if you can relax down so that you can release that right hip a little bit more. And then just focus on your breathing. Nice big breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth. So hopefully feeling this stretch all around the right glutes and hip. A few more breaths. I love this stretch, it's one of my favourites. It's easy to get into, and once you're here, it's easy enough to hold if you can get yourself to relax. Tuck the toes on the left when you're ready to come out, and then just walk that left knee forwards. Leg comes behind, and then out of it. So we've done pretty much everything other than the inside of the leg now. So we've done all around the hip. We don't want to leave out the inner thighs. They're a really important function when we run. They obviously do a bit of hip flexion, so they bring the legs up in front of us, but they also help to stabilize our knees. So they are doing quite a bit when we run. So when you're ready, extend the left leg out behind you and then sweep it round to the left as far as it will go. Obviously, the further forward you come, the harder this stretch is. So if you need to ease it off, just take it back a little bit. Once you're there, we're going to drop the belly and lift the tailbone. So doing a cow stretch again. So tailbone lifts up to the ceiling and you'll feel that deepen the stretch. Try and keep the tailbone up and you're just going to lower your weight back towards your heel and then forwards again. So you're increasing the stretch and then easing it off. Now, if you're very tight in your inner thigh, what you'll do is try and round your spine as you come down because it eases off the stretch. Try not to let that happen. Keep the tailbone up even as it deepens the stretch. And like I say, if you need to, just take the foot back a little bit so that it's not quite as extreme. And then I've been a bit cheeky with this one. I've added in a bit of upper back mobility because that's really important as a runner. We get quite tight, we do quite a lot of work through our upper back. We want to make sure it's nice and mobile so that we can keep getting into a really nice alignment through that upper back. So I'm going to add in a little upper back stretch here. So you're going to pick up your left hand. You're going to thread it through between your right hand and knee. And then you're going to take it up to the ceiling, twist towards it. So when you thread through, try and get the back of your left shoulder to touch the floor. And then release, open out as wide as you can. And again, thread through. And then release. Good, one more time, thread through. And then release. Good, we're going to do the same with the right hand. So thread the right hand through between the left hand and leg, and then up to the ceiling. Again, try and get the back of the right shoulder to the floor, and then up. Twist, and up. Two more if you can. Twist. Last ones. Come back. Sweep that left leg back underneath you. We can do the same with the right leg. So extend the right leg, take it out to the right as far as it will go. Drop the belly down, lift the tailbone up, and then just rock your weight back to increase that stretch and ease it off. Keep the tailbone lifted. Keep the breath flowing. Good. Last couple. And then we're going to do that back mobility. Good. So we keep the stretch by leaving the leg there. Pick up your right hand, thread it through between the left hand and knee, trying to get the back of the right shoulder down. And then up and twist to the ceiling. Reach through. And then up. Keep the breath flowing as you move. Try and keep the bottom over your knee rather than sinking back when you thread through. Good, last one. Then picking up the left hand, let's go the other way. Thread through, back of the shoulder touches down, and then reach up. Reaching away, good. Couple more. Last ones. Come down, sweep the leg behind, back underneath you. Sit back and we are done. So those are my favourite stretches, mainly because they cover off all the key areas as runners where we tend to get tight, upper back and all around the hips. I hope you enjoyed them.